Hey guys, it's Dude49 and I'm going to be showing you how to pick out your best crosshair in Counter-Strike. Now this is going to help you become a much better player. It's also going to help you in tweaking your sensitivity, and I have a totally different video on how to be a pro Awper, but it also goes into how to improve your sensitivity for Counter-Strike, and you can find that in the description of this video. So you should check that out prior to getting this crosshair. You could watch this crosshair video, then check that out. So it can help you tweak your game to be a much better player. But for the most part, we're going to be looking at this, and this is the one map you need to get. You can find it in the Steam Community Workshop. It's Crashz Crosshair Generator. There's a bunch of awesome crosshairs on here, and it also makes tweaking your crosshair a lot easier. And hopefully in this video, I can show you some of the things you're looking for to make your crosshair much better. I'm going to be putting 2 crosshairs in the description for you guys because you guys seem to be asking me what my crosshair is all the time in my videos. So I'm going to give you guys my thought process on how I came to my crosshair and what I was looking for, and hopefully this can help you adapt your crosshair to be better or find the features you're looking for in your current crosshair to make it even better for you to be a better player. And this should hopefully help you get to global. So one of the things I noticed about this map is a lot of YouTubers who talk about this map generally just tell you about the features of the map, including the fact that you have the 5 different styles of crosshair, you can choose the gap, you can alter it, and you can play with it to your desire and how you like it, just increasing or decreasing the values, which is obviously what this map is meant for, to make it easier for your life. But the thing with it is they don't explain to you why you want to choose a certain crosshair style. So you can see on this map, you get all sorts of pro players, so by all means go ahead and use these crosshairs like Kenny S or Freiberg or whomever. And you can also see on the back you have all these other player crosshairs on the back. But I'm going to be going over some of the things that you're going to be looking for to hopefully make your crosshair even better. So first off, decide on which one you like. Default 1, 2, 3, or 4, or 5. You can play with it any way you like. But let's just say you're currently using your own crosshair, or let's just even jump into one of the pro crosshairs, because that's probably one of the best places to start, and you can decide from there. So first thing I'm going to mention is resolution alters your crosshair. It heavily alters your crosshair, and I'm going to be showing you this with Kenny S's crosshair. So I'm playing a 1920 by 1080. You can see that when I hit escape and go to my video settings, you can see my resolution, 1920 by 1080. This is my preference. If you have a slow computer or a computer that doesn't generate as high frame rates as you'd hope, playing on a smaller resolution will give you higher frame rates. It's just how it is because your computer doesn't have to render as many things. But here's the problem. If you change your resolution, you are also changing your crosshair. That's how the game works, because as you zoom in, it begins to start stretching your crosshair or altering it in different shapes or forms. So in my case, I'm playing 1920 by 1080, and yes, I can play with this crosshair on this resolution, but I need to mention to you that Kenny S does not play on this resolution. And as we said before, resolution alters your crosshair, so I'm currently using the Kenny S crosshair. But let's just hit escape, and let's change the resolution. And I'm going to be showing you how that alters everything. So Kenny S plays on 4x3 on 1024 by 768. I had to look this up, but this is what Kenny S uses. But as soon as I click apply, I want you guys to pay close attention to my crosshair. You can see it behind this shaded area, but pay close attention to the crosshair, and you're going to notice 2 things. 1, it's going to be bigger, and 2, you're going to notice the gap is also bigger. So as soon as we get back in the game, you can already tell that right off the bat, the crosshair is bigger, it's more stretched out, and everything about it is different. So with this crosshair, you can go here and you can test out things by shooting the enemy in the head, and you can see how you like it. Obviously, this crosshair works for Kenny S, and he's a pro, so it's probably going to work for you as well. So we can also go back here and try different crosshairs based on the resolution. You can always just quickly Google search it on what crosshair, say, or resolution Dupree uses, Edward, and so on and so forth. Shroud, on the other hand, he uses 1920 by 1080 like me, but I don't use Shroud's crosshair. I have my own crosshair. So let's go back to 1920 by 1080, and I'll get into a little bit more detail on the features you're looking for in your crosshair that are going to make it easier for you. So step number 1 is you're going to need to determine your resolution. What resolution works for you? You find that resolution, it gives you high enough frame rates that you enjoy, the players are big enough for you to see, and also the shots that you take are easier to see when you shoot them on the wall or something, so you can guide your recoil to be able to hit the enemy in the head. So find your resolution, and that'll be your step 1 for your crosshair. So going back to this resolution on 1920 by 1080, this is the resolution that I use. There's a couple things I want to tell you. First of all, let's look at Shroud's crosshair. He currently uses style 4, and he has all these settings worked out for him. If you want to look at more detail, you can just click here. It'll pop your console out so that you get the entire code for everything in here. And there's one thing I want to mention is crosshair gap use weapon value, and he has it at 0. A lot of people seem to overlook this and always use 0, and there's a slight problem to this, and I'll explain to you the math and science behind it as to why you might want to try using 1. You can also see it on the Crosshair Generator map, which is this, dynamic gap on and off. Notice when I turn it on, the crosshair suddenly gets bigger, and if I switch weapons, the crosshair alters. You'd have to look a little bit close on the screen to see this. I'll probably zoom in for you guys, but you can see that it alters as I switch weapons. If I jump, it doesn't move, and if I shoot, it doesn't move. That's how Crosshair Style 4 works. If I turn it off, I can switch weapons and it doesn't alter. Jump and shoot, it doesn't alter. I did a bit of tweaking and I looked at how these guys' crosshairs work on their resolution, and I found there was this underlying thing that made my life a lot easier for aiming at the head. So I'm going to be showing you my crosshair and why I chose this crosshair and why I think it's probably the best one to fit my needs. Obviously, this crosshair might not work for you, but hopefully in this video, it's going to explain to you guys how to alter your crosshair or currently use your current crosshair to make your life easier for aiming at the head and getting headshots done. So first thing I want to mention is crosshair thickness. Gap can be altered any way you like depending on preference, but since I use dynamic on, it changes with the weapon I switch with, so I'm going to be explaining based on that properties. But the gap is all preference. You can have it any size you really want, it doesn't matter. But one thing that does matter, and something that I really noticed matters, is size and thickness. As size can be altered based on the resolution to fit your needs, that looks easier to notice the crosshair, but it also can help in your recoil, and I'll explain that in a second. But first thing we're going to look at is thickness and how thickness can help you. Dot is basically the dot in the middle, on or off. You can have that on or off, it doesn't matter. You can also try these crosshairs out as we mentioned earlier. Alpha is how well you can see it, and outline is again based on that. So we're going to ignore these, including gap, and we're only going to look at size and thickness and show you how these two factors can make your life a lot easier for aiming at the head and getting shots done, including controlling recoil and dynamic gap on and off. So first thing we're going to look at is my crosshair, and I'm going to be showing you that when you alter the thickness, which is the first thing we're looking at, it alters where you aim. So in order to be a good player, you want to make your life easy to get the job done. You don't want to deal with complicated factors on how to aim at the head and get a perfect headshot. You want a simple job. A simple, hey, I just need to aim and click. And how do you do that? You look at your horizontal line. For those of you that don't know what the horizontal line is, it's the line that goes left and right. So you just aim it. For me, I aim it on the shoulders. But this is where thickness has a factor in this. If you notice, my thickness, as I place it on the counter-terrorist's head here, it lets the center of my crosshair aim somewhere around his eyes. But if I were to change the thickness by going CL_crosshair thickness, and let's just say I put it to 0. You notice that the crosshair is now thinner, and aiming at the shoulders is probably more like this. And that makes it, there's two things that happen here. One is that after long periods of shooting, this is probably going to miss the head, especially when I go further off. It's probably going to miss the head, more likely to miss the head. And second of all, the other thing is it makes it a little bit harder for me to see the crosshair. I found that if I had a thicker crosshair at 1.5, it's easier to aim at the head, or it's easier to see, and also it's easier to aim at the head because I can easily place it on top of the shoulders and always maintain the aim right at the eye level, which is the headshot, of course. So you can see here, as I'm shooting, it makes my life a lot easier to get the shots done on the head, and I'll go into a little bit more details as to how this works. You'll also notice that when players have their back to you, sometimes you can't hit the head, but if you follow the process, you can see that the neck is down here, but it goes diagonally. So when you aim the crosshair horizontal line above the shoulders, you're always going to be at headshot level, as opposed to those players who say, oh, aim at the neck, you're probably going to miss more than you would hit if you aim at the shoulders. You'll notice at the shoulder level is headshot level. So now the next thing we're going to be looking at is the size, the crosshair size, and what you want to look for in your crosshair size. But first, before I get into that, I want to show you guys features that you look for in your crosshair that help you determine recoil before you get into crosshair size. So I want you guys to pay close attention to the bullets on the wall and how many stay within the crosshair before they start going out of the crosshair. So I'm going to shoot this about 3 times, and then you guys are going to see that about 4 to 5 bullets stay within the crosshair before they start jumping out of the crosshair, and I am not going to control the recoil whatsoever. So you can see it was right about here before the bullets started going up. We'll do that again. Same thing, same height, roughly. So again, about 4 to 5 bullets of the bullets are landing within the crosshair before they go out of the crosshair. So now all you have to do is counter the recoil by pulling the crosshair down and maintaining about 4 bullets within the crosshair before you need to start looking at other features of the crosshair for controlling the recoil. So for now, let's just look at the first 4 bullets and maintaining them into the crosshair. You can see it's really simple and they're roughly right on point, and I don't have to worry about bullets jumping out. So how do you determine the proper crosshair for getting it so that when the bullets start jumping out of the crosshair, you can still maintain your recoil? Well, this is where crosshair size comes into play. So now we're going to be looking at crosshair size, and I drew a crosshair here so you can see this and I can point things out a little bit better. But you'll notice that for the first 4 to 5 bullets, they land within the crosshair. If you were to pull down properly, regardless, the first 4 to 5 bullets land within the crosshair. After that, what ends up happening is the bullets will start going into here, right into the line, and then right above the line. And that's where crosshair size comes into play. You're going to try to make it so that as you shoot the wall, you're going to have bullets that will, the first 4 are going to land within the crosshair, and then as the bullets start going up, you want to find features of your crosshair, so alter the size so that they land within the line and then just above the line. So this is how it would look like. Notice how I'm able to control the bullets in there. After the first 5, I was able to maintain the aim, and then as I pulled down, the bullets went into the line and just above it, and I could maintain the spray. I'm going to do it again. You see that? I can maintain the spray, which ultimately means I need to just use the horizontal line, aiming it at the enemy's head, and then as I shoot, after 4 bullets maintaining the crosshair as best as I can on the head, I need to start pulling down and aim like this, because if you were to look at the crosshair, what I'm doing is using the bullets to go into the crosshair and then just above it as you spray, so you get a good spray pattern like that. Now, we're going to be looking at the dynamic on and off, which is this feature. Let's start with 0, which is a value that a lot of players tend to use. You can see as I switch weapons, it's pretty accurate, but here's the problem. The AK, no matter what, will always land within where you're aiming. If you take quick burst shots, it always lands within the center, hence the sharp crosshair style. The Glock, on the other hand, you're going to notice it starts going a little bit bigger. And that's kind of weird. You might say, well, what's going on here? Why is it that the AK, that has a much higher recoil than the Glock, is all lined up in the center, but the Glock, shooting at the same fire rate, or roughly the same fire rate, has a much bigger spread? And that's where the used weapon value comes into play. And this is where a lot of people seem to make the mistake where they say, oh, I'm fine using the Glock or any other pistol, and I'm going to hit the head. The thing is, the bullet has a much wider RNG, I guess you could say, or randomness or spread, and that's the problem. So if we start using weapon value 1, it shows us that, look at that, all the bullets are landing within the gap. So if I were to draw the crosshair for you guys, it shows us that all the bullets are within this gap. You can see all the bullets are within. If I switch to the AK, it shows us that the bullets are within the gap. Roughly a little bit open, depending on the distance. But you can see it goes like that. So now knowing that, that's going to make your life a lot easier for aiming at the head, because you know, first of all, you're using the horizontal line to aim at the head, but ultimately what this does for you is that with an AK, you can always maintain the head any distance. But watch what happens. Let's start here. Using the Tech 9, you easily know that this is going to hit the head because every single bullet should land within there. But watch as I go in distance. There's a greater chance for me to miss, because now we already know that the gap within the crosshair shows us that this is probably where the bullet's going to land, and there are some open areas that aren't on the head. So ultimately, the game is essentially telling you that at this distance, don't start spraying willy-nilly with the Tech 9 at a very long distance, including with the Glock if you were using the Glock. So what you're going to do is take your time with your shots, slow down your fire rate. So you can see I'm hitting the head. It's very accurate. Slower fire rate has an accurate shot, but if I were to shoot really fast, you can already see my bullets are flying all over the place. So that's what the game's trying to hit to you. Up close, by all means, you can see the entire head is within the crosshair, and you could easily wreck their head. Now, the next thing we're going to be looking at is the crosshair color. And a lot of people just say, oh, it doesn't matter what crosshair I use, but there's a lot of science behind the crosshair color. Let me go here and I will show you. See, notice here you have 3 levels of color, B, G, and R. That means blue, green, and red. I have 255 for blue and 0 for green and 255 for red. This gives me this weird pink color. Now, to explain to you guys how this works, your eye in scientific matter, and hopefully this will probably educate you to understand how you're going to decide your crosshair color. Your eye only sees 3 types of colors, and they're called cones. That is how your eye perceives these colors. There's blue cone, there's a green cone, and a red cone, and it perceives these at different shades of levels. 255 is the highest shade in computing value, and you can change the value of this even lower to get a different color. So notice mine is pink right now, but if we were to go say green, you can see here only the green value is on, and if we were to go say yellow, you can see that you have green and red on to get yellow. So if we were to look at a color spectrum, and I guess we'll be using this color spectrum for this value. So how do we get this pink color? That seems weird. So it basically says when you mix 2 colors, you should get the color in between. So if you mix blue and green, you get this blue color. If you mix green and red, you get yellow. But what happens when you mix blue and red together? You should end up with a color like this. It's pretty odd. blue and red together, you expect to get green, because if we look at the color spectrum, we have blue and red, you should get green. That's in the middle, because remember, blue and green, you get this color, green and red, you get yellow. So red and so blue and red, you should get green. But no, you're gonna get a color all the way down here, and that's a fake color. Scientifically, a lot of scientists say this is a fake color, but the thing that happens here is it tricks your mind. It's a weird trick that your mind starts playing and doesn't seem to quite understand it, so it just says, okay, we're gonna throw this pink color at it. And this color, scientifically proven, is actually calming, and if you notice, when you're a calm player, you aim better and you shoot better. And it's not so much so it looks like a flamingo, but more or less, it's easier to see. So to be a better player at aiming, I find, is I need to always look at my crosshair. I need to have my eye focused on my crosshair. So using this color, it made it easier for me to focus on my crosshair. Now, by all means, you can try any of these other colors and see how it works for you. But here's the thing, as I mentioned, there's 3 cones in your eye. There's blue, green, and red, which means a stimuli is sent from your eye to your brain saying that, hey, this is this color. So take this for example. If we were to only use green, the only stimuli that's firing to your brain is green, which means over time, that green stimuli is gonna get tired, and if you play for long periods of time, you're probably gonna get tired and you're gonna focus less on your crosshair. You'll probably notice this, that you're focusing less on your crosshair in longer periods of play. Similarly, if you were to just use a blue or red color. So some of you might say, well, why don't I use all 3, blue, red, and green? So I fire all my neurons off, or receptors off. And the problem with that is you get the white color. You're probably gonna have to use an outline for it, and by all means, use the white color. It just makes it harder to see when you get flashed. So I find using the fake color between the red and the blue gives me the pink color. I find that that works better for me, and I'm always able to focus on it regardless if I start playing the game or play it for a long period of time. As opposed to, say, a color like Snax's crosshair, which is, you can already tell it's a little bit hard to see on areas like this. Using a crosshair like that is a lot easier to see. I'm not even changing it to my crosshair, and you can see it's a lot easier to see. So using these fake colors can actually help you see in different situations. You can see anywhere I aim is really good to see it, but if I were to switch to, say, yeah, Snax's crosshair, certain areas I aim make it harder for me to see my crosshair. Like here's, and there it's hard to see. But if I were to go to pink, or I guess the fake color that we were talking about, in almost every situation, I can always see the crosshair, and you can tweak it to be even better. In my case, if I were to execute my auto execute, I'm always able to see my crosshair no matter where I aim. So that's how you're going to determine your crosshair color. So hopefully in this video, you're going to figure out how to decide on what crosshair you're using. I posted both my crosshairs that I've used in the past in the description. You can use whichever one you like, but ultimately I recommend that you guys go here, change your resolution, figure out the crosshair that works for you based on the thickness and then the size for the recoil, and just work with it and practice, practice, practice. You can also try some of these player crosshairs, but if you're gonna try their crosshair, figure out what resolution they're using, and hopefully this is gonna aid you to figure out how to be a much better player, and ultimately, maybe you might like one of these guys' crosshair, because these guys are the pros, so try it out and see how it works, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, please do leave a like down below, and let me know in the comments what you thought about it, if you enjoyed it, and if you wanna see more tips and tricks that will help you become a much better player, because I'm generally a tweaker, and I tweak a bunch of things, and I don't just go into simple, oh, this will work for you. I go into really deep science about it, and I look at different factors. Like I mentioned, the crosshair dynamic for crosshair style 4 or 5, you can try it out and see how that works for you. So hopefully this worked for you guys, and I will catch you guys later.